Oh, I knew my hair was a mess today, but I did not know it looked like this on the cam, like with the camera on. So, hi, welcome back to Koala's Krypin, and I am Koala. As you know, Koala's Krypin means mm, Krypin means nook or hiding place or living place. It's a small place where you crawl into. So creep means crawl and in means in. So crawl in. I imagine it like a welcoming cave of some sort. So today I'm gonna talk about something that I was gonna make a video about last year. Imagine. I'm just gonna see if I can. No, okay. And I did make a video about this topic last year, but I did it in Swedish, I think. So you guys have been missing out. I'm so sorry. So here comes a video about the topic of Utiseta, or as we say in Swedish, utesittning, which means sitting outside. That's like the meaning of it literally. Uti seta. So uti means out and seta means sitting. That's the yeah, that's the meaning of the words or word. And you can think of it like a vision quest. I think vision quest is the best word in English to make up a proper uh, meaning of it. Or like, what's the word I'm looking for? Equivalent to it. So a vision quest. And with an Utiseta, you can choose to do it. You don't have to do it for days. It can be quite hard for maybe new people to do it for days. And also in our modern society, it's hard to find a place where you can be completely alone for such a long time. And with an Utiseta, you're not supposed to bring that many things. So of course you can do like a camping trip, but you are supposed to leave all your stuff and everything and just bring some water and some sacred objects and then go to the place that you have chosen to do your Utiseta. So it's not really today's society doesn't really allow us to do this in the proper way for a long time. But all my students that come to me and learn about the runes, mainly about the runes, they have to do an Utiseta as a part of their training, you can say. Like one of the homeworks that they have is an Utiseta. So it's homework when they do it online, do the course online, and it's we can do it together if it's an in real life course. So, but none of my students in real life have reached that point yet to where they go on a vision quest or an Utiseta together with me. So, um, but I have had some students do one that have done the online course. And so it's really quite simple. You can do it, you do it with an intention. So you can choose your intention and do it with that. And if you do it like in as a part of a course to work with the runes, to become a rune magician or something like that, then the intention that you go into nature with, out into nature with to do an Utiseta is to dig deeper into the runes. So the sacred objects that you might bring can be something to help you open sacred space, and when you do that, you welcome everything that has something to teach you, so that animals and everything can be included and welcomed into your sacred space. But you might want to leave leave a protection up for excluding people, especially if you are in an area where there can be hikers or campers or something like that, which are most places in Sweden. At least in the lower half, I would say. There are some places in the upper half, but um, it's like the places that we have something called allemansrätten. Um, I don't know the word in English for it, but it's a right to roam around the forest, forage. No, just forage any whatever you want. But it's a law that protects the common person and our right to roam the woods and roam the lands, and we can stay one night in each place, and you can stay almost wherever you want to, as long as you're following the laws and directions in that place. So if you are in like a national preserve or a nature preserve area, you have to follow the guidelines in that area. They are like excluded from this, but included in a way. There are rights to roam the woods, but you have to do it carefully and with much greater respect. And this law allows us to discover the woods a lot and to walk about as we like, but with respect for the person owning the land. So yes, if you are a landowner in Sweden, people can actually camp on your land for one night, as long as it's as far away so they don't see the building, like the homestead building. They can do whatever they want. No, not whatever they want, but they can set up camp, they can take water from the creek, they can uh, make a fire, as long as they follow the guidelines to that. Because like right now in Sweden, when I'm recording this, it's the day before it comes out on YouTube, I'm recording it. We have like a drought, so we're not allowed to make fires everywhere. There are very specific rules regarding that, and I don't think we can make it at all now. So no fire to warm your food or boil tea or anything. But anyway, this law allows us to do Utisetas. We can go into the woods and into the forest and do this, and with respect for nature, with respect for landowners. But you can imagine how many people are roaming the woods in the summers here, in the spring, if it's a warm spring, in the summers, and if it's a warm autumn or fall. There's a lot of people out, and they follow like the big trails, so you have to find a place where you can be uh, excluded from all that and just be present. And that can be a hard nut to crack, like where I live most of the year. There's roads wherever you are. Even if I'm in the woods, I can hear the roads. So it's not like, it doesn't feel like I'm in the wild forest. Um, and I have to like tune that part out. But there is a part I can do to see it as here, and I do have a place where I've been to do that. And so an Utiseta is a vision quest with a purpose and intention, and the most common intention that I use or choose when I go into the woods to an Utiseta is to dig deeper into one or two runes, or maybe the entire Uthark. And when I do it with the entire Uthark, I bring the runes, I bring my rattle to open sacred space, I bring some maybe smaller objects if I need. I bring my rune, like this rune bag here, and the I have a piece of leather where I put the runes when I divide them up, and you can bring water. So if I'm going to talk a little bit about how to prepare for an Utiseta, you choose a place and you choose a time and you choose someone to meet you there. Like if you choose, like my students choose like 3 to 5 hours, like maybe 3 hours the first time to just be alone in nature and just be in one place. And to during that time they have to sit there during either sunrise or sunset. So they choose. So depending on what time of year it is. I had one student do it in the winter solstice, and that was I'm so sorry that she had to do that. She reached a point in the course, just stepped right into the winter solstice and did it. But it was an amazing experience for her. It was cold, and you can move around in the place that you have chosen, but you can't go too far away from it. And that is because there's like a general rule. So if you choose a longer period of time, you still have to be inside of a specific area, um, because you're supposed to not eat before it. And so the best time to do it the first time can be during sunrise, because then your last meal was maybe the night before. So you have at least 12 hours before you go out and sit, and you would only bring water. And then you can have something with you that you can eat when you are done, but completely done, so that you have preferably close to the sacred space and then moved to somewhere else. You can be in the vicinity, but away from that place. And then you can eat your breakfast or whatever. And so I would say at least 12 hours before you need to be fasting or like not eat anything. And you can bring water, and I think that's it for like the first time. And then depending on your intention, you might want to bring some herbal tea but unsweetened, for some, or you can maybe bring warm water in, like whatever you call it in English, that keeps the water warm, so that you can make tea out of herbs you might find when you are out and about. But don't use any herbs that you don't know for sure what they are. So if you feel called to pick up an herb to put in your water, then I would say don't drink it, just smell it and let like the fumes guide you, and you can greet the herb, and um, you can go on a journey, a meditation with it, and just by having it inside of your personal space within the sacred space. So, but if you find like herbs that you know that are, maybe it's herbs or plants that you rarely use, and when you use them it's not intentional, and then you meet them in your sacred space when you're doing an utiseta, and you're like, oh, now would be a great time. Thank you very much to dig deeper with this herb, and then you can do it. And when I do this, I sometimes bring my drum, my drum. That one is a great drum to have outdoors when it's not uh, when I'm not allowed to make a fire. So it's an indoor drum in the way that the sound is not that strong, but it's an outdoor drum in the sense that it can take all weathers, because it's made of plastic, I think, or some kind of non-organic thing. And I have two other drums, as you know, but I wouldn't bring them on a Nutiseta because they would be too dry. Mostly too dry, I think, because it's dry over here. And when I can't make a fire, and I can't, regulate the skin on it. So I only bring them when I'm gonna start a fire and when I have some water with me to, yeah, find to help the skin. Is the skin, is that the right word for it? I don't know. But be balanced anyway. So, or like humidity, balance the humidity in it. Wait for it. So, prepare for an Utiseta by choosing your place, choosing your time, making sure it's a place where there are as little people as possible. Preferably a bit away from the biggest trails and maybe even the smaller ones if there are people walking on them. But you can choose a place where animals go, like where their trails are. That's perfectly fine, and maybe even depending on your intention, maybe that's what you want. And you try not to eat before and only bring water. So if you're on medication or some sort that makes you have to eat breakfast and you want to do an utiseta during like dawn and you have to eat like within the first hour or so, because I know there are medications where you have to eat within the first hour of you waking up, and try to make it as small, like the portion as small as possible, just like the basic, and then you can bring some more to when the utiseta is done. Or maybe you can find another time in the day where it's better for you. So if to meet animals, of course, and when I say meet animals, I don't mean that you see an animal and you walk towards it and you can cuddle with it or whatever. I mean that you see them and they might approach you depending on what animal it is, or you might just be like almost like a stubble in the woods, like almost like a tree in the woods among animals, and you just sit there and observe and maybe send them love and reach with your awareness. You can exercise your awareness and your um how do I explain this? Okay, so when I talk to animals, I reach out with my awareness or my like almost like an energy hand, and I say, "Hi, can I talk to you?" And you can exercise that. Try to do that, and just but don't stare at them if they are uncomfortable. You know, just observe them without them feeling like they are threatened by your presence. So that's what I mean when I say meet animals. So let them come to you. And if you are, for instance, doing an Utiseta with the rune of Algis, that is the rune of wild animals, then you might choose a place where you know there are a lot of animals walking about. And the best thing for that is if you start the Utiseta in the middle of the day when it's probably empty, and then you just make yourself as part of the environment so that when dusk comes, when sunset comes, and they might come out and eat around you, they will feel that your presence isn't that threatening. Um, so depending on what your intention is, set you set your you choose whatever you need to do. But um try to have a person meet you, if especially if it's a far away from where you are, and it's always good to have someone know where you are, and to make a plan with someone that you will contact them when you are done. So if it's a person that doesn't really know about these kinds of things, you can just say, "I'm going alone out into the woods for this period of time. I want you to know where I am if something happens. These are my coordinates." That's a good place to start, coordinates. And I will be at that place from this hour to this hour, and when I'm done, when I'm leaving, I will text you. So if I haven't texted you and you haven't heard from me before this time, like maybe in half an hour or an hour, depending on where it is, because I mean, some places in Sweden, even when we go out into like the thickest woods, there are no reception, so you might have to walk a little bit. to get to a good reception. So you might give yourself some leeway there and say that I will be at this place until this hour, but it might take me some time to walk back, especially if you are hungry and if you are, yeah, if you wanna like stop halfway or something to eat something, but you don't have a reception yet. You can tell the person that, so that and tell them that if they haven't heard from you before a specific hour or within a specific time frame, they should try to contact you or try to find you. So especially if it's an area with a lot of wild animals that might be a danger to you, because every country has their wild animals, right? Maybe I think like Great Britain. Is this a lie or a truth? Does Great Britain have no like dangerous wild animals? I've heard that because it's an island, they don't have like wolves and that sort of thing, but haven't really dug into it. Can someone tell me? So most countries have some wild animals, or maybe even just snakes. We have poisonous snakes in Sweden as well, and when you've been bitten by one of them, or a poisonous spider. We don't have that many. But then you're not supposed to move around too much because the poison spreads, etc., etc. And it is better that people find you. So there's always like a chance that you might be in danger, especially if you choose to do it overnight and you fall asleep for a bit and like whatever animals come find you, because especially if you're not making a fire, and I recommend not making a fire when you are doing an utiseta unless your intention has to do with the fire. Maybe you want to do one in the winter and you want to meditate with both ice and fire energies, like the Kenna's rune and the Instus rune. Kennan is in Swedish, and where they meet and make the life-giving water. So if that's your intention, yeah, sure, make a fire. But normally don't make a fire because you want the nature to be undisturbed. You just want to be in nature and be a part of nature as you are sitting and doing this vision quest. So you can absolutely have clothes on, because I know in some traditions a vision quest is like you go into nature almost naked. I think like I've read, and you only bring like water, and some don't even do that. But with a Utiseta, you bring water, you wear clothes that are appropriate, you don't want to get sunburned, or you don't, yeah, that's perfectly fine. Don't bring clothes that will inhibit your experience though. So bring like shoes that you can take off easily so you can go walk barefoot. And yeah. So have I missed anything? I have told you how to prepare for it, because other than not eating, um like during the Utiseta, you can do a lot of meditation. You can just, it's like a meditation, a journey, the whole 3 hours or whatever you choose. So it's not necessary that you prepare that much before it. You can, of course, like cleanse yourself. You can, by taking a shower or bathing, you can bring incense with you so that you can clear the space that have chosen. Especially if you want to open sacred space, which I recommend. So, and then during the Utiseta, you do what feels right. So I usually start off by opening a sacred space and laying out the few objects I have with me, and maybe something to sit on if I want something to sit on. And then I do like a cleansing meditation, a clearing meditation, and then I just sit there in that space, and I do take my shoes off so that I can, sense the energies of the ground. The place I usually choose is a small, um, like you can see the bedrock like the floor of the woods are opening up to expose the bedrock, and I that's what I said. So and then when you're done, when I'm done, or like okay, so I open sacred space, I put out my objects, I do a cleansing meditation, and then I don't want to clear the space with too much incense, because I don't want there to be like two different smells there, much too different, for, like for animals and stuff. I don't want to keep insects away. I am fortunate though, because mosquitoes don't like me. So, and like smaller insects that bite, they don't like me. They just walk around and then hop off. So I don't have to really worry about being bit like that. Um, but I know a lot of people do, like ticks and mosquitoes and that sort of thing. So you can like put something on you if that's like your case. And then during the Utiseta, especially if we take the intention with runes, I have then brought my runes with me, and then I sound the runes to get to be in that uh like mental state, and also find if they like, yeah, I sound them and I feel them, and I work with, I touch them a lot and I work with them, and I can even draw runes. I try not to bring too many things, so I try not to bring like a notebook. I just try to experience when I'm there with all my senses open, because if I have something to write on, maybe I will just focus on that and I will miss the experience of being there. I might bring a notebook to write things down afterwards, just before I close sacred space and walk away. So I sound the runes, and it's a lot of meditation and a lot of sounding, and that sort of thing. And as I said, depending on the intention, I might bring a drum, and then I drum and I see whatever comes, and what that gives me, how that enhances my experience being outside. I also have a range of sounds that I make, to like personal sounds that I make, that tells nature that it's me that's there. It's hard to explain, but um, yeah. So you can play with that when you're out there. Just follow the flow. Follow your intuition, follow the flow that you are being given, and try to remain in the same place. And then when the time is up, like you can bring your phone to have. Of course, you should bring your phone so that people can reach you if there's an emergency, or vice versa. And I would put it on mute at least, and then have like a reminder on, so that it tells me when the time is up, if I'm just so in the experience that time flies by. And then when I'm done, I pick up all my stuff. I usually close sacred space before picking up all my stuff, and I might have brought something to give to the place as a thank you. Maybe some like bird seeds or whatever. Important to note is that if it's a nature preserve or a national park situation, you can't bring anything and leave it there that might change the flora of the place. So seeds is a bad idea. And you can absolutely bring fruit and leave it there, but without the seeds in it. So that's important to note. And since you're not supposed to be eating in the place, it's, you don't leave food. So you can leave like small things to give to the place, but nothing that can sprout, on its own. So, and you can do something that can sprout if it's like a place that you own, or if it's a place that no one owns, but it's not a nature preserve, which is rare. But of course you can do that. But I try to the only sense I do that is when I bring these like balls for birds. I have one place in the woods. I don't own it, but I have put up like a spiral thing you can put the balls in. and but I go back there regularly and tend to it. And at the bottom of that tree, it's like on the bedrock. The tree is sprouting from the bedrock, and then around it there is moss, and there's not much for a seed to sprout from. It's not a nature preserve. It's just an area for what's the word? Recreation? Yeah, recreation. 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 I don't know I don't know the proper way to pronounce that though. Okay, so leave it as you found it, and close your space before you go, and that's it. Kinda. And the reason I'm talking about this now is because a very good time to do an Utiseta is the summer solstice. You can do it overnight, and at least here in Sweden, the sun doesn't go down during that time, so it's an interesting time, especially if you sit there for a longer period of time, maybe from like 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. overnight on the summer solstice. And because then you get to experience all the all the different versions of animals coming and roaming the area where you are sitting. Insects and maybe like deers and other animals that do walk there. I love my favorite wild animal, I would say, is a boar. I just love a boar. My partner is a bit annoyed with me, I think, sometimes when we're out in the woods. And I'm like, oh. So I call them my piggies. And we have met some at one point, or not met, but we heard them, and we were like, okay, we don't get too close. So, but I did meet a boar when I was a child and I was in the woods. So, that's where I found my love for them. I was just sitting. It was almost like my first Utiseta, I think. I don't remember why I left the group of children I was playing with, but I remember leaving them like being upset for some reason, and I walked into the woods and I sat on like a stubble thing or a stone maybe. Could have been a stone. And I just sat there for a very long time, and then one lonely boar came. I think it was a big female, if I remember it correctly. No, she wasn't alone. It was the big female, and then were some of her children. I don't know the English word for a wild boar's child, but uh, and they were in a distance first, and I was just sitting there like, oh shit, you know. And then one of the smaller ones like ran up to me, but not like really close, but enough to almost scare me. So I sat there like I didn't move a, a hair. I didn't move anything. And then it just started to like do this in the ground. Um, and then it went back to the mother. It was just curious. Maybe it smelled me or something, and it was curious, like, what is this? So, and I just loved watching them. They were so calm with me there. They were not threatened. They weren't threatened by me alone, a small lonely child, at all at that time. I don't remember how old I was. Um, maybe 10 tops. So that was my first encounter with a wild boar, and I love them ever since. But I was fortunate. I am very well aware of the fact that I was fortunate enough to walk away without a scratch, because especially with the children around, Mama Boar could have just been uh could have been very angry if she would have seen me as any kind of threat. So uh I don't think I would like to meet a boar when I'm doing an Utiseta, but it wouldn't be the first time. So um I might do an Utiseta this summer solstice, but I think because I am free from work, I always take time off during the summer solstice, and I am free that day. So if I do it, I probably do my Utiseta from the day before, overnight, so that I can then sleep when I get home. So please, if you want to share, if you have ever done an Utiseta or some kind of wishing quest, tell me about it in the comments below, or reach out to me on social media. My new Instagram is ShamanKoala, and my Facebook page is Dreamers1 with this face on it, so it's easy to find. And yeah, tell me about it, and tell me if there are some differences between how I have described it and how you have done it. Even if you, no matter if you've done a Nutiseta or some other kind of wishing quest from another culture or tradition, it's interesting to compare. So with that said, I have been talking for a very long time now, but yeah, so walk until we meet again. Walk in beauty and what do I say? Xingling.